the First Empire. Before the Akkadian Empire, Mesopotamia was a land of independent city-states, each with its own king, its own god, its own army, and its own ambition. Cities like Uruk-Ur, Kish, and Lagash flourished, but they were constantly at war, locked in cycles of alliance and betrayal. Power shifted endlessly. No ruler held dominion over more than a handful of cities, until Sargon changed everything. Sargon's origins are the stuff of legend. According to a later Babylonian text, he was born an illegitimate child, placed in a basket, and floated down the river, a story eerily similar to that of Moses centuries later. He was raised by a gardener and eventually entered the service of the king of Kish. But Sargon was not content to serve. He would become king himself, and more. Around 2334 BCE, Sargon seized control of Kish and quickly moved to expand his domain. He defeated Lugalzagesi of Uruk, the last powerful king of Sumer, and claimed rule over all of southern Mesopotamia. But Sargon didn't stop there. He marched north, west, and east, bringing vast territories under his rule, reaching as far as the Mediterranean Sea, the Taurus Mountains in Anatolia, and perhaps even the Iranian Plateau. This wasn't just a kingdom. This was an empire. Sargon named his capital Akkad, a city that to this day remains lost to archaeologists. We don't know exactly where it was, but from Akkad, Sargon ruled with military power, political innovation, and religious legitimacy. He declared himself King of the Four Quarters of the World, a bold title that no one had dared to claim before. So what made the Akkadian Empire so revolutionary? First, the scale. Never before had such a vast territory been united under a single, centralized government. Sargon created a standing army, professional soldiers loyal not to a city, but to the empire. He installed Akkadian governors in conquered cities and maintained control through a system of loyal administration. Roads were built to connect the cities, trade routes flourished, goods, ideas, and languages flowed like never before. Second, the language. Under the Akkadians, the Sumerian script was adapted to write the Akkadian language, one of the first Semitic languages to be written down. For centuries, Akkadian would be the diplomatic language of the Near East. Even long after the empire itself fell, its language lived on. Third, the idea of empire itself. Sargon didn't just conquer, he set a precedent. His model of centralized rule, military dominance, and administrative integration would be imitated for thousands of years. Babylon, Assyria, Persia, Rome. Each built upon foundations laid by the Akkadians. And then there was Naram-Sin. Sargon's grandson, Naram-Sin, took the empire to its greatest heights. He was the first Mesopotamian king to claim divinity for himself, declaring himself a living god, the king of the four quarters, like his grandfather, but with even greater ambition. Under Naram-Sin, the empire reached its cultural and artistic zenith. Monumental architecture, intricate carvings, and powerful iconography told stories of conquest and divine authority. One of the most famous artifacts from this era is the Stele of Naram-Sin, a stone relief showing the king ascending a mountain, trampling enemies, crowned with the horned helmet of a god. This was power not just asserted, but immortalized in stone. But even empires built on innovation and strength are not immune to time. By around 2154 BCE, the Akkadian Empire began to crumble. Internal rebellions, economic strain, and, according to some scholars, a devastating climate event known as the 4.2 kilo-year event caused widespread drought and famine. The Gutians, a mysterious mountain people from the northeast, invaded and occupied the weakened cities. The empire collapsed into chaos, and for a time, Mesopotamia returned to fragmented rule. Yet the legacy of the Akkadians endured. Their language became the diplomatic standard of the ancient world. Their imperial model became a blueprint, and their stories of Sargon, of divine kingship, of vast power, echoed across generations. In many ways, the Akkadian Empire was the prototype, the first civilization to think beyond borders and tribes, the first to imagine a world under one rule. Today, we live in a world shaped by empires, politically, culturally, and economically. The seeds of that world were sown over 4 millennia ago, when a basket floated down a river and a gardener's boy became a king. The Akkadian Empire didn't just rise. It defined the very idea of what an empire could be.